Hello my friends, welcome back to another painting tutorial. Right, I hope you're all keeping very well. This week I am going to try a little sky. A nice sky, sunset sky, really rich colours. There's no particular subject in this painting this week, it's just simply learning about painting skies. So I have a picture here, I don't know if you can see that clearly or not. Friend of mine on Patreon, Punit, sent me this and asked me if I could paint it for him to show him how I would approach a sky like this. It's a lovely rich sunset sky, lots of rich colours in the clouds, so it's nice, I think, to just try something like this, a sky, just some clouds on its own, because it really helps your technique and it really helps you to learn about mixing colours and how colours interact on the canvas when you're mixing them on the canvas as well, especially with oils. So I thought this would make a nice little subject for us to paint. Just a simple, not simple, but just a sky on its own, maybe a little bit of a horizon line or something like that, but predominantly clouds, rich colourful clouds in a sky. I thought that might make a nice little tutorial for you this week. You might learn a thing or two about mixing and how colours interact on the canvas, that kind of thing. So I think you might enjoy this one. So that's it, let's crack on. I have a 16 by 12 canvas. It's not primed, I haven't primed it. And there's a reason sometimes why I don't prime my canvases. It's because if you're painting certain subjects where you want the paint to kind of dry in a little bit quicker, I don't prime my canvases. So for instance, a sky like this, there's lots of darks and lots of lights. So I don't want the canvas to be too oily and too well primed. I want the paint to almost kind of soak into that canvas very quickly. So when I put other colours on top, they don't kind of mix or blend very, very easily. So it allows me to get dark colours next to bright colours without mixing and making it muddy. So I haven't primed my canvas today. You can give it a little coat of oil if that helps. I might give it a little coat of turpentine just to take some of the soakage out of it. I'll see how it goes. But sometimes with these kind of cheaper canvases, when you're painting on a thin mix, it can just kind of soak right in straight away, in seconds almost. So if you want to give it just a quick rub with some tissue and some linseed oil or turpentine, you can, if it helps you. But I sometimes like a drier canvas like this. So let's try it. Let's have a bit of fun with this. Painting rich, colourful clouds in a sky. I hope you like it. Let's go and have a bit of fun with this. Right, let's go. Let's have a bit of fun with this. I'll just tell you what colours I have on my palette. Nice variety of colours. Titanium white, Naples yellow, cadmium red deep. Is that cadmium red deep? I think it's just regular cadmium red. Lamp black, phaylo blue, magenta, cadmium yellow pale, and some burnt umber. Nice, simple, warm colour palette. Here's my painting. I put some masking tape across here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a reference photograph. Now that might look complicated, but look, let's try it and have a bit of fun. This is all about learning about mixing colours and getting strong, rich highlights on those clouds. I'm going to take a large brush and I have some turpentine with a little linseed oil in it, just a touch. That's my thinners. I'm going to dampen my brush, and I did give this a coat of thinners with my cloth, just a very quick coat. It's soaked right in, but it might help. Let's mix some blue. You see that bright blue we have up in that sky? Let's take some phaylo blue and some titanium white. Now we need this to spread nicely because it's a very dry canvas. I'm going to add a touch of thinners into this just to thin that slightly. Now what I'm aiming for is a kind of a thin, creamy texture, okay? Let's try this. Okay, that's not bad. I'm going to keep going. I might take a touch of magenta just to warm this ever so slightly. I'm going to just pop this across. We don't have to go all the way because we have lots of cloud up there as well. And I think because my canvas is not primed, I'll probably have to add lots of thinners into this. But basically, you just want to get a nice bright blue for all the left-hand side of the painting, okay? Just pop it in. Just be very, very quick with all of this now. Don't be too particular. I just want to get a nice coat of blue up there. Rubbing it around side to side, in and out, all that kind of thing. Don't be shy. And up at the top, I'm going to add a nice rich blue, dark blue. So phthalo blue and a touch of magenta. And just with that on its own, no thinners, let's just deepen that blue up there. I may even have to add a little touch of black, I would say, into this. Let's try some phthalo blue with a touch of black. I'm going for a very blacky blue kind of a colour. And it just adds a nice contrast to any sky. Particularly just up on top, if you soften it in. And leave that just come down gently, very gently, soften it out. We have a nice gradient. Now, I'm just going to clean my brush very quickly. Dip it into your turpentine, give it a rub on some tissue. And we get a lovely kind of a yellowy colour. So let's start with a little touch of phthalo blue. And I'm going to go with lots of white, okay? Lots of white in this. So I'm starting with this very soft blue. We could even take a touch of Naples yellow. So now we're starting to go that little greeny. You see that kind of a greeny, turquoisey colour? I want to soften that first. Just up there, into that blue. So it's lovely and soft, graduating down into more of a kind of a greeny yellow then. So let's take some more white. Let's take a touch of cadmium yellow into that. Now we don't want a green. You see that's more of a green, isn't it? So I'm going to take some more cadmium yellow and then a touch of cadmium red. And perhaps some Naples yellow as well. What you don't want is green. I don't want any kind of a greeny hue. Now it is a green, but don't worry, we're going to fix all of this. I'll just clean my brush again. And I go into some white. And I want to pop some white across. You see where they both meet? I want to pop some white across between the blue and the yellow. Soften it up into the blue. And then soften it down into the yellow. So now we have a nice bright colour in between the two, don't we? And then that allows us to go in with some richer colour. Cadmium yellow and a little cadmium red. Don't be shy now with your colours here, okay? Add plenty. Bit of Naples yellow, maybe just to brighten it up a small bit. I go here and I just soften it up very gently into the white area that we had. Now, what you don't want in this is a very kind of a solid line between the yellow and the blue. You really want to soften these together. So I'm putting again a bit of white in between, look. I want to soften it up into the blue first, gently, and then maybe down into the yellow, gently. I want more of a graduation, kind of going from one down to the other. You see what I mean? No, that's not bad. I think we'll go with that. We have enough done, I think, for that blue. I might just bring a little bit more across here. So again, let's go into the blue and take some white. And let's just pop that in. I just want to bring it across a little bit more, that's all. Now if you don't have phthalo blue, you can use French ultramarine or cobalt. Any of those colours will do fine as well. So before I start putting my actual clouds in, there's one small thing I want to do, and that is, with a small brush, okay, I need some titanium white. I'm just going to grab some white, and I'm just going to pop a couple of little clouds into the sky up there, just with white on its own, look. A little bit of white on a nice flat edged brush. I'm just going to go up and start bringing a couple of little clouds down, kind of wiggling them as they come down at an angle, you see that? So I basically just want to give the impression of some of these very far off clouds up in the sky kind of swooping down. And what that's going to do for me is it's going to bring the eye down into the painting. I'm just scraping it across, look, dragging it down at an angle. And already you can see it's bringing your eyes down into the painting, isn't it? So you're looking at those clouds and it's bringing your eye across into the big rich clouds there. And I'm going to pop one or two in here and there as well. Look, just, you can see those little tiny bits of clouds just sort of dotted around here and there. It just adds to the blue sky, I think, rather than just having, you know, a plain blue sky. I think something like this, it just makes a difference. Now, take a soft brush and just kind of brush those brush strokes out. Soften it away. Look, there we go. Very simple, very quick, very simple. Now I'm going to move on to another brush. This is my large stubby brush, but it's quite worn, so you can see the way the brush fills out, it kind of opens out. Now when these are new, they're just simply like normal flat brushes. They're very flat and crisp like this. But once you start to use them, they fill out and they open. They're lovely for clouds and for bushes and trees, all that kind of stuff. Let's start putting in a nice dark purple up here. I'll dampen the brush very slightly. I'll take some phaylo blue and I'm going to go with lots of magenta. It's a very blacky purple, isn't it? Maybe take a touch of black. But the trick here is lots of pink. So plenty of magenta, or crimson if you have it even. Let's go with this dark purple now and see what happens. I'm going to pop that in first. Now on the camera, this may look like a black to you because it's a very dark colour. But it's actually a kind of a deep, you see that? It's kind of a deep purple. Now I'm just going to simply scrape this around, allowing it to just sort of kind of dance around on the canvas. This is going to be the kind of base for me to start working my colours on. That's what I generally do when I'm painting. I tend to just put one kind of a base coat on and then work on top of that colour. I just find it's much easier to control colours when you do it like this. So we're starting up on top. Let's mix some more of that. I like that colour now, that's a nice colour. Black, some magenta, and let's go in, put that on. Now we do have a very kind of a bright area here, so I might leave that just for now. What I would say to people when they're painting skies like this, it may look very daunting, okay? It may look very daunting at the beginning. Now let's look, soften them up with our fingers as well, you see? I know I shouldn't, but look, come on. Let's just... Sometimes you have to connect with your painting, I think. You have to connect. And the best way to do that really is to rub paint with your fingers and that kind of thing. What I would say to people is, you know, when you're painting a sky like this, and take a bit of cadmium red. I know a lot of people may put on the darker colours first. But if you're painting kind of oranges and that kind of stuff, it's very difficult to put your lighter colours on because you may find they will overpower the warm colour. So if you put your dark colours on first, they tend to overpower the warm colours, and it then becomes very difficult to kind of put on warm colours on top of dark colours. So what I would say to you is, if you see an area like this where it's very orangey, okay, very bright, I would leave that. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that then in just a moment. Now, as we're coming up here into this warmer shade, I'm going to just start adding more cadmium red, only as a base colour. Because a warm colour like this is much easier to lighten than a dark kind of a blacky purple colour. So it's much easier to lighten this kind of a colour than it would be to lighten this colour. So that's why I just added a touch of cadmium red there. And then I'm going to take some magenta. I'm going to pop a little magenta through this purple and bring it across. Because if I brought this purpley colour across into the yellow, what would happen? I'd start getting some green, wouldn't I? So by adding plenty of that pink, you're stopping that chance of any greens forming. So I'm basically putting pink over a yellow colour, which makes a nice warm colour. So then you're avoiding any kind of greeny colours. So there we go. Now we're kind of going quite well, I would say. So I'm going to clean that. And I'm going to go and start putting in some real dark colours up on top. So black with some phaylo blue and some magenta. Almost like a black, okay? And just start swishing that around. Getting in these lovely, rich darks. And you know, some people get kind of very overwhelmed when they're painting something like this, because they just see so much cloud and they see so much colour. It can get very daunting. But what I would say to you is just allow your brush. Sometimes you have to allow your brush to just take control of the painting and do what it wants to do. I know that's difficult to understand, but you know, leave your brush go. Look, just leave the brush go where it wants to go. So we have a dark there, okay? We get more black, put a bit of black down in there, another little bit across there, just creating some dark colours here and there on the painting. Now you probably can't see some of them, but there's a lot of dark shades going on. Okay, so I'm going to stop at that. I have most of my dark colours in. I'm happy with those. I'm now going to start adding lighter, warmer colours. So you can see these nice light kind of pinks, beautiful warm pinks up there. I'm going to start doing some of those. So with a clean brush, I just kind of cleaned it quickly. I'm going to go into some magenta, and I'm going to pick up lots of white, and then perhaps a little cadmium yellow, and that cadmium yellow will just give us a lovely warm kind of a pinky colour. Maybe you try a touch of cadmium red as well. So you can mess around with your reds and yellows. I'm just trying different things here now. I'm going for a very warm pink. Now, remember, we can't have too much yellow in this because we're going over a kind of a purple. I don't want to end up with greeny colours. So let me just go, you see, that then will start mixing with the black. So we need to be careful. So let's go with magenta. Maybe just magenta and some Naples yellow even. We could just try that. Might make a nice mix of colour. And let's go up and just start dabbing it in. Now another way of doing this would be with the palette knife. You could use your palette knife as well if you wanted. And I may still use a palette knife in a moment, just to get more crisp colours on there. Now a little bit more magenta there. And we have a nice little bright colour coming out here. I'll be leaving all the really warm colours probably until the very end. So I'm just really dabbing the brush around here and there, look, creating little touches of light on the cloud, just here and there. Next I'm going to soften those in just gently, and I'm going to get my palette knife, and I want to create with my palette knife some solid colour. So I'm just softening the brush strokes out of these, just to create very sort of rough kind of natural clouds. You can see it's starting to lighten, isn't it? Alright, okay. I'm thinking palette knife. I think we should try it. And I'm going to go with a small palette knife. Let's try a small one for a change. Let's get some cadmium yellow and some cadmium red. A little bit more yellow in this. And again, I'm being very careful. The thing about mixing colours like this on the sky is you have to remember the colours, how they interact. So if I put a yellowy colour over this kind of purple and black, you're going to get a muddy green colour. So what I always do is I make sure any light colour I'm putting on is very pinky, has plenty of pink in it, because you don't want any of those kind of greeny muddy colours coming through. That's very important. So I'm just going to mix a very rich kind of it's a warm pink again, and I'm just going to start popping that on here like this, you see, just with my palette knife. We could even go a bit more with pink and some Naples yellow. And I'm just going to kind of scrape it in like this. The idea is really just to allow the knife to hit and miss. Yeah, it's about allowing the knife to hit and miss the canvas. You're sort of literally scraping in a very kind of a random manner, okay? So you can see now, you see I'm just kind of scraping it around, and it's only just certain areas that are catching the light. Another one here, maybe just a little bit there. So we're imagining the sun is coming from way over on the left, down in the horizon. It's coming up and hitting the clouds. So I have a nice orangey here now as well. I'm going to start putting that on. You can, of course, if you like, use your brush for this. But I just find with the brush, you know what it is sometimes with the brush, when you're using the brush, the colour just tends to kind of mix in too quickly. Whereas with a palette knife like this, the paint stays on the surface, which is what you want. You see, it doesn't mix too much. So I'm just popping this kind of rich orangey mix now onto the canvas like that. I just want to slowly start bringing up the colours. Slowly. And you see these ones up here? We can just soften these in again with the brush if you like. Just so you don't see very solid marks on the canvas. So you can just kind of soften them very gently with your soft brush, look. Or any soft brush you have. It just helps take that roughness from the knife out of the paint. So now I'm putting this brighter and brighter colour onto this area, and that's why I added plenty of red here first, because now that means it's much easier for us to add lighter, warmer colours to this. It's much easier. Now I've taken cadmium yellow and some Naples yellow, mixing it in with this colour that we already had. So now you can see I'm able to put this nice warm colour on without it kind of mixing into a green too much. And I'm simply forming the shapes of the clouds with my palette knife. You see, I'm going around in little circles. I've just grabbed some yellow, look. And I'm almost using like the tip of the knife, you see that? Just to swirl the paint around, creating that lovely little shape. Now, this is a long way off of being finished, right? We still have a lot of work to do on this, but it's a nice start. So we really have a lovely kind of a base right now on which to work from. So I'm putting in some of these light pinks across here. And then you can scrape them around. You see, you can soften them in, scrape them around. Put maybe one or two across the bottom. and then scrape them in using your knife on this flat edge. It's really, I suppose, about trying to have a bit of fun. You know, I always say to people, try and make it, this needs to be fun. If you're not enjoying this, if it's making you frustrated, then you're better off just stopping and going for a coffee or tea or something. Because if you keep trying and trying and trying to get this right, and if you keep going at something and it's annoying you, it becomes very difficult. Because you will get frustrated, you lose your patience, and that's when things start going wrong. Now, this could go wrong for me. It could, by all means. I've had lots and lots of paintings go completely wrong. And I've ended up having to just restart again, or sometimes I find it's easier just to take a canvas and put it into a bin and forget about it and start on a fresh canvas, because sometimes if you're working on the same canvas over and over again, you're trying to get something right, it just causes you to do more anxiety and more confusion. Sometimes I find it's actually better to get rid of your canvas completely and start fresh with a nice clean canvas, because it gives you a fresh perspective, you see. Now, let me just soften all of this away. So, we have a pretty nice sky going on there now, don't we? I'm going to move to a smaller brush. And this now is when I start adding nice, proper highlights to the clouds. I'm taking a small brush, some yellow, and a little cadmium red. And I'm going with some Naples yellow as well, just to brighten it. I'm going for a nice bright kind of an orangey colour. And I want to start adding some nice highlights on some of the clouds. So you can see the sun is coming from down here. It's going to be coming up and hitting the clouds. So the brush just allows me to create a little more of a form on the clouds. You see that? Now the knife is fine. The knife is okay, but with the brush you just have a little bit more control, don't you? Let's go again. Let's take some cadmium yellow, some cadmium red, and let's get some nice warm orangey colours in here. And you see, the nice thing about the canvas being dry is that a lot of this is kind of soaking in. So when I'm putting this yellow over the purple, it should go a muddy green colour, but because it's kind of very dry, I'm able to put this on without it mixing too much. Now I'm going slightly more luminous, a bit more yellow. I'm just popping that bit of rich cadmium yellow. There's still a bit of orange in this, but that rich cadmium yellow just really just catching highlights in the cloud. Okay. And the trick with this is not to mix it too much, because you could go on and you could start rubbing like this, and then you're mixing that yellow back into the purple, which won't work. So what I would say to you is just put brush strokes on and try to sort of just leave them if you can, you see. Now I'm going to take some cadmium red for a moment, because I want to go up there and just add a little more of this orange into that cloud up there. And notice I'm just putting on little amounts of paint. Alright, you can get a big brush and do all of this with a big brush if you like. But I find sometimes when you're using a small brush like this, you're only putting on little bits at a time, so it gives you a bit more control. I do love using a big brush sometimes for all of this, but the problem then is it's very difficult to get kind of forms, certain forms that you like. I'm going to pop a little cloud in here and there. Kind of one or two floating across, isn't there? Just one or two. Doesn't have to go, you don't have to go crazy with this, but just the odd one here and there, look. Okay. Now I don't think we're coming on too badly at all. I feel I just need to maybe add a hint more pink into some of this. I'm going to just touch this up with a little more pink here and there. If you feel you want to neutralize some of the yellows, just add a little magenta in and around some of the yellow. The next step I'm going to do is just simply, with my soft brush, soften some of these out. Because I want to just create that nice kind of puffy feeling, a soft feeling. I don't want lots of thick paint kind of jumping off of the canvas with a sky like this. I just want to keep it nice and soft. Okay, I'm done with that for now. I'm now going to take off the bottom of my canvas to masking tape, and let's go and put this in. Now the bottom half is quite simply similar to the top half. Again, we start with some phaylo blue and some white. Now remember, when you're painting reflections, they will generally tend to be darker than what you are reflecting. That makes sense? So if you're painting a bright blue sky and you get to the reflection will be slightly darker. It'll be a slightly darker blue sky. That's what I find. It just gives more of an impact, really, when you're painting. Let's add some white. Plenty of white in there. Bring it up. And then we can start adding some yellow. I'll clean my brush. Take some cadmium yellow with some titanium white and a little touch of red, maybe some Naples yellow. And just pop that in, across there like that. I'm not being particular with this, really. I'm not being very particular with this reflection at all. Take a bit more yellow now and a bit of cadmium red. I just want to strengthen the reflection of the sky, okay? Just a touch, look, a little bit. We have a lot of stuff going across here, don't we? I'm going to put in a very rich purple here. So let me take some phaylo blue with magenta and a little black. And it's simply just reflecting the colours we have above it, but you can make them a little different if you like. I'm going much pinkier with this colour, so I have a lot of magenta in here, and look, I'm going to soften it across here. You could add a touch of cadmium red to this as well. The important thing when painting clouds, I find, on reflections, is it's simply left and right. That's all. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just simply bring your brush strokes left and right. And already you can begin to see it come to life, can't you? Then I'm going to switch to a small brush. No, let's go to a small brush. I have to say I'm quite enjoying this painting. It's a simple painting, But you know something, you learn a lot about mixing colours just with a simple painting like a sky. You would never think you could learn so much from painting a simple sky, but you can. Let's take some magenta and cadmium red and a touch of cadmium yellow. I want to pop a little bit of that kind of rich orangey colour just in here and there. It's just as an accent, okay, just to start bringing out those warm colours in the reflection, you see. Just a little. Just left and right, left and right. And then we can start bringing out some, maybe a little bit of light pink. We start bringing out that little bit of pink here and there. You see, just kind of dragging it across here and there. Maybe lighten it there as well, just a little. I'm not being too fussy with this because we have a lot of stuff going across this with the palette knife later. So I'm not being very fussy with all of this at all. Okay. I just want to keep this simple for you, just nice and simple. Now we have a bridge here, but I don't know if I want to put that bridge in. I don't think it needs it. It might distract the sky, you see. If you start putting something in on this side, it may distract from the sky. So look, what I'm going to do is quite simple. I'm going to take my flat-edged palette knife. I'm going to take some dark colour, phaylo blue, magenta and some black. Very rich, dark, blacky kind of a purple again, okay? And I'm simply going to create, maybe we have 1 or 2 waves off in the distance coming across. Now, let's take a little thinners in this. Just dip into the thinners. It's not kind of sitting on the canvas properly, so I take a little bit of white just to thicken it up a little. I basically just want to create a little bit of horizon line, perhaps with a bit of, I don't know, it could be some waves crashing or something like that. But it's really just to break up the reflection. That's all it is. It's just to break it up a little bit. Now, I'm going to next take some lighter colour. I'm going to take some blue with a little bit of white perhaps. So let's get some phaylo blue. Let's take some blue with some white. And this may add a nice little effect. Let's just put that across there again. So we're simulating just some rough kind of waves off in the distance coming in. And then I'll scrape a little bit of white onto my palette knife as well. And pop a little bit of white here and there. You see the way I'm just scraping this across, allowing the canvas to just break off and take off the white. That's really the process. This is all just to bring something into the painting, some little bit of sparkle on the water perhaps, and just break up this area just slightly. Now, I'm then going to just take my brush and soften very gently some of those back, so they're almost disappearing. And you don't have to add these if you don't like, if you don't want to. You can absolutely just leave it as it is with the sky and the reflection. You can just leave it, it's completely fine. But I'm pretty confident that's all we need. I don't think we need to add much more than that. I might just take a bit of pink, perhaps, with some phthalo blue. And I might just add a little bit of that colour here and there. Maybe a little more magenta, just to add a bit more colour into the cloud reflection. Even a bit of cadmium red as well. It's just to kind of break up the surface a little bit. And I think maybe just one more little bit of orange. I think it needs just that little touch of the orangey colour reflecting from the sky. So a little bit of cadmium yellow, a bit of cadmium red, and let's just pop a little bit of that across here and there. Maybe even come down a bit. And then soften it out. And I think that's all we need to do, my friends. Now, I'm quite happy with that. If you want to keep going and adding little bits yourself, absolutely you can. But the whole point of this for me was to just try and simplify the process just a little bit for you. Just to give you a grip on creating skies like this quite easily without worrying too much about detail and all that kind of thing. So that was kind of my plan, I suppose. Really, that was my plan. There is one thing I want to do now, and it's just keeps looking at me. There's one piece of this painting that keeps looking at me. I just want to add some light pink up around the top of the painting there, up around the sky. It's just, it seems to be kind of jumping out at me just a little. I think it just needs a little touch of a light pink here and there. And then I'll soften that back in. That's a bit better, isn't it? And there we go. There's really no need to keep going with this. You can if you like, but you could maybe add a little sailboat or something in the distance. You could do something like that. Let's add a sailboat, I suppose, as we're here. Let's put a little silhouette of a sailboat in, away off in the distance. Let's take some purple. You could use something like a red or something like that as well. And let's just put a little sailboat. And let's imagine that this person now is sailing into the storm without realizing the dangers. And then I'll just put a tiny bit of a reflection down. Like that. Okay? Little bit of a wiggle with your brush, that's all. And we are done, my friends. I hope you've enjoyed this. I think you'll agree. Something colourful, something simple. Just remember, try and loosen up. Try and loosen up your hands a little bit when you're painting. Don't be too stiff with your brush. Just allow your brush to kind of flow around the canvas. Just allow the brush to do the work. And just try to imagine that you are the cloud or you are the reflection. Just imagine what that's going to be like. Soft and loose and very free, okay? Anyway, try to give this a shot. I hope you try it. Let me know what you think and how you get on. You can email me your work for my opinion, if you like, to stephenconway12@gmail.com. Please do subscribe and share the channel to everyone, because I think a lot of people are missing out on basic, simple painting techniques. I'm Stephen Conway. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy painting. I'll see you next week. God bless.